Becoming is better than being. That's precisely why we consider ourselves to be a work in progress. It means that you are never complete and you always have that chance to become something better.
It allows you the ability to be comfortable with making mistakes and accepting yourself for who you are.
Yes, we are a work in progress. Hi, I'm AX.
Hi, I am GK.
And I am Chris.
Welcome to the show. So unlike most times when we begin with a nice icebreaker and all those things, today we're going straight into a hot take.
Okay.
Or more or less, I would say a mild hot take.
Okay.
I'll say it this way. On many occasions, my colleagues sitting here right next to me have pointed out that I rarely take sides.
You sit on the fence.
They call me words like fence sitter. They call me words like a flake.
Have you ever called him a flake?
Not yet.
Fence sitter, I remember, but flake?
Fence sitter, they call me many words. All of those words. But for the truth is, I'm actually a very highly opinionated person. But I made the intentional decision to not always share my opinions with the people. And on many instances, I therefore sometimes can be seen as a bit mild.
Okay.
But there is one opinion I do hold. And it is with regards to the people sitting here on the bench next to me. Because I consider them to be, to some extent, radicals in their forms of belief. And this is my statement, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Radical people / movements never bring about radical change. What do you guys think?
Support your take first. Why would you say,
why would you say that?
Okay, I'll tell you
Also,
this.
that is a pretty radical take, is it not? The great irony, yeah? Continue.
It's a radical take about radicalism, so thank you very much. So, have you ever thought about my favorite heroes? Some of my heroes are Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, Thomas Sankara, and they all have something in common beyond their great ideas and great philosophies. Their ideas and philosophies didn't go very far, especially for Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah. Marcus Garvey had said he wanted the United States of Africa, and now we are more the divided states of Africa than the United States of Africa. So my belief is that many of these radical people and movements actually create an opposite side that becomes more radical towards change. And the only way that you're going to implement change is to come from it from a perspective willing to listen to both sides and have more better decision, better talking within the mediation between each other than have people going on the streets and screaming haki yetu and all those things.
So you're more into the incremental change,
yes,
as opposed to radical change.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll say I disagree with your take. Radical people do bring about radical change. Now the issue is how far-reaching or how long-lasting are those changes after these people go. Because I'll give you an example of Robert Mugabe. When he came into power, he wanted the white farmers, the white settlers to go. And that was one of his campaigns, whatever. When he came into power, he did what he had said.
He threw them out.
So he brought about that radical change.
And it brought about another radical change, which was not
exactly. So it's a domino. This will lead to this, and then maybe it's not the best form of change. In increments. Change in increments is the best. But before I go on to the next point, I'll let AX also share her take on that meaning, and then I'll come in with something extra.
Okay, I disagree as well. And my example is the French Revolution.
Very surprised.
The French Revolution and both the French and the American Revolutions, both of those wanted to enact radical change. Now, for the French Revolution, I will admit that what ended up happening was more of the same. Like you ended up just reinstituting a monarchy through other means.
There's a saying you often say. I'm gonna butcher it, but you say revolutions are
just a 360-degree turn to end up exactly where you started.
Exactly.
Which is a perfect example of what the French Revolution was, because they got rid of the monarchy and then just had an emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte, who also tried to make sure that his lineage would continue. And they brought back the monarchy to then go back into the republic. But I also do think with the reference to the American Revolution, that did bring about radical change because the primary aim of that revolution was to establish a democratic republic, one of the first of its kind and one of the oldest in the world. And if that's not radical for the context in which the revolution took place, which was a very autocratic model of governance was the norm, that was radical. And to some extent, even today, it is quite radical. So yeah, I disagree with you.
Okay, so on that American example, I have two people that I'd like to completely state how their fates were so different.
Okay.
They are, on one side, Martin Luther King Jr. On the other side, Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm X believed in radical change. He believed that it was time for the black person to reclaim their identity and protect themselves from white aggression. Martin Luther King believed that the most successful method of doing so is to show a mirror to the society and let them see the scars within themselves, and it will effect change within time that will be more long-lasting. Now, my question to both of you is, whose change actually has stood the test of time? Is it Martin Luther King Jr. or is it Malcolm X?
Can I go first?
Please.
Okay, thank you very much. So, the reason why I do not like that example is because it paints Malcolm X as if he was completely unnecessary, and I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is something called the Overtone Window. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Enlighten us, please.
Okay. So the Overtone Window was introduced by, I want to say, a political economist or political scientist called Joseph P. Overton. He introduced it in the 1990s for a think tank.
It's always weird to me that everybody who creates a theory of some sort, they must name themselves in that theory.
See, that's how you live forever.
I digress.
That's how you live forever.
True.
For example, did you know that there's a winged insect that's named after Beyonce?
It's called the Beyonce fly, am I?
It's something to do with it having a gold butt or something. I don't know, but it's called it's named after Beyonce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, slight diversion. Back on track. So the Overtone Window is basically like a window of conversation, right? So let me give you an example with how Kenya treats intoxicating substances. On the one hand, you have a very lax policy that says do whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, it's fine, like Portugal.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have something that's more akin to the United States. It's very regimented, very aggressive, very like, we don't want you to do drugs. Then Kenya is somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah. And that middle is the Overtone Window. It is all the possible public policy options that the moderate public is willing to discuss and acknowledge. That window shifts from time to time whenever radicals are present, because radicals can pull it either left or pull it right. And in that pulling, you kind of open up the Overtone Window to discussing more and more public policy options. Like, as a result of Bernie Sanders, who is a socialist, or rather a democratic socialist, people in the US are now more willing to have conversations about universalized healthcare, universal basic income, raising taxes on the rich, and a whole bunch of traditionally socialist policies that if you go to the 1990s America and tell them that, hey, people are going to want universalized healthcare, almost everyone will be like, communist, how dare you, we're a freedom-loving country. So the Overtone Window perfectly explains why radicals are completely necessary in our political system, because they open up the possibilities of what a government can do for its people, and that opening up is very important.
So the window shifts to either side a little bit, and then people have radical beliefs on either side of the window. Yeah. And that creates now what modern society dictates. So you're saying someone like me who claims to be someone who likes to be on the center, whether it's center of right or center of left, you're saying that I am in the Overtone window.
It's your home.
So I'm center of the Overtone, but not center of everything.
Yes, because it shifts left to right. Like, it's not exactly center. It could just shift a little bit right. It could shift a little bit left. But its main job is to basically, like I said, lay out the different discussions that we can have.
Which leads to me one of my questions for both of you, and I've prepared myself mentally for your attacks, is this.
That's a bit presumptive.
Do you feel we need more, and I'll give people like Kofi Annan and people like that, do you feel we need more people, not necessarily sitting on the fence, but more people ready to listen to both sides of every argument? Do you feel we need more of those people in society?
I'll answer you, but before I answer you, let me read something I had prepared, and then I'll come to you.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I was doing this research, and I came across a book called Power and Influence in Society. It's written by an author known as Julie Batilana. Batilana.
Are you sure?
We'll give you a B for that.
Batilana.
I'm sure that's wrong, but it's okay.
Hey.
So in her book, she says there are three types of radical leaders. So the first type is the agitator. Okay. So the agitator stirs up the pot by articulating and publicizing societal grievances, rallying an otherwise diverse group of people around a mutual desire for change.
Like Malcolm X and the guy that led the Black Panthers, Fred
You said that name was what again?
Julius Malema.
What did you say that name was again?
No, come on.
Agitator, sorry.
The agitator. So you have the agitator. Now, this person will go to the podium and say, we have this problem, this, that. The agitator.
Yeah, Julius Malema is an apt.
That's an agitator, right? Then the second type of radical leader is the innovator. So the innovator develops a solution to address the grievances.
Like a Steve Jobs sort of guy.
Or Kofi Annan.
More or less.
Yeah.
So he anticipates roadblocks and comes up with alternative paths.
Okay.
So now in this book she says, an innovator is someone who has, for example, studied, lived, or experienced something beyond the norms of a given environment, and thus is able to create a vision of a different future that is nonetheless makes sense to the people and captivates them. So you tell them, when I was in America, for example, I saw people were not eating ugali. So you try and innovate and tell them something different. Yes, and because you've been elsewhere and you've been exposed, they're more keen to listen to you because of that kind of difference. Yeah.
Okay.
And she says, without leaders who can lay out persuasive path of innovation, a movement will never make it past the agitation stage.
Okay.
So an agitator needs someone who's an innovator.
It stirs the pot.
Yes. Now the third type of radical leader is known as the orchestrator. So the orchestrator spreads the solution created by the innovator, continually strategizing how best to reach out to the people within and those outside of the movement as the movement grows. I think, I may be wrong, but I think Joseph Goebbels was that person for Hitler.
Ooh.
He was orchestrating and making sure that he's...
An example.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, it's Goebbels, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, what's his, MLK is a good example of an orchestrator. When we can all agree.
Now that you said that, I wonder.
So she says, agitation without innovation means complaints without alternatives. Innovation without orchestration means ideas without impact. So for you to have a good radical leader, it's either you have the three qualities in you or you have these three types of people around you. Now, do we need more people who are neutral? That's what you're saying. Is the orchestrator a neutral person? Because orchestrators often need to tailor their message to the interests of the various constituencies that they are trying to persuade to embrace the change.
But that's not neutrality.
I can present a neutral view, and I'm coming to him like, I hear that, but let me tell you, if you switch to this other side, I have my bias, but how I'm coming to you, I'll tailor it in a way that you listen to it. But real change is brought about by the agitator and the innovator, in my view.
Okay, so as for my response, I feel like you are conflating radicals and people that don't listen. More often than not, a radical is willing to listen to you. Perhaps you just don't like being challenged. All right?
And the radical sometimes represents the views of the populace. So we sit here and say, as people from Nairobi, we feel such and such and such has been done against us, and so we need change. And so one of us rises from this group and now presents that change. So he has listened to a certain group of people and is playing on those emotions and their whatevers to push that message forth. My view again.
Yeah, but I'm also worried that if you have a lot of people whose job is primarily to listen to the grievances of others, it becomes that much harder for you to devise a solution. Because if all you're doing is listening and listening and listening, that's hardly an exchange of ideas, right? That's just you taking on a lot of information and then just sitting on it. I think when I think of a radical, I think of somebody who's willing to act, not just willing to listen. And listen is an important part of that act, but it should not be the end all and be all.
Okay, so explain to me, for example, the insurrection in the United States, where you now have a population who has felt, and this is not rightly so, but they have felt attacked and offended by the country that they believe was theirs. And so now they believe that they have sort of been, what's the word, ostracized, put to the side.
Overrun.
Yeah. And now what has happened is, do you feel that you need an orchestrator, an innovator, and an agitator to come and solve that problem? Or do you need a listener to come and actually listen to their grievances and bring them on board to solving the problem?
So here is why I'm against listening to those particular people. I understand it'll make them feel nice, it'll make them feel good, it's fantastic, it's great. But literally most, if not all of society, because a majority of the people are white, most, if not all of society has been catered around listening to the complaints of white people in the US. So you want me to continue listening to you and your problems when you will not give me the same courtesy. There has to be some reciprocity of action. Why should I, as a person of color living in the United States, always listen to the grievances of white people when they are not willing to do the same thing for me? After a while, it gets really frustrating. However, that is coming from a place of deep frustration, so please take it with a very, very big spoon of salt.
I'll say something that might be
controversial.
Maybe.
That is unexpected.
It's a
In America, the problem with the black community, I feel, is they chose to go
We were getting
the
along
not radical
so
side,
well.
right?
Yeah.
They chose to go the Malcolm way, Martin Luther King way. Had they gone the Malcolm X way, I feel that they would have been more respected.
Yeah.
Their views would have been listened to more. Look at what happened during the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They were now angry and they were saying,
They were angry.
listen
They
to
had to
us,
do
blah, blah, blah,
something.
right?
Yeah.
And there was a shift in the American society.
So you're saying the same for Nelson Mandela? Maybe Black South Africa should not have gone the Nelson Mandela route?
I'm not saying that. I was talking about America. And that's why I'm going to leave that thought. That sometimes there's a Swahili saying that says, yeah, amani haipatikani ila kwa ncha ya upanga. Sometimes. The Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? Sometimes a bit of kichwa ngumu, a bit of violence is necessary for people to listen to you. Because when you're too nice and you're too soft, sometimes you're assumed and pushed to the side. So a bit of radicalness sometimes is very necessary.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move forward to the next part of the discussion. And I'm going to give us a time cap of about 5 to 6 minutes for this discussion. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll try our best. So we've talked about radicalism, and it normally touches on the leadership aspect of it. And that's the theme of this entire episode. It's about leadership.
Okay.
And so what I'm going to ask you is, of the last few months, we have 4 months to the elections. Yes. 3 to 4 months now given. And what is happening now is forget the presidential elections, because those people are quite established. But you have other positions in the electorate that are underwhelming voters, to say the least. You're getting people making random promises, not sounding very clever, saying things, completely terrible things, trying to sway voters. And we also know that history is showing us that if you look at this, there's an article that was released, I think 2 years ago, that showed democracy is at its lowest. It's backsliding in the world in terms of popularity. Okay. You also look at the fact that apathy among youth and people is also high. So what I wanted to ask you guys is, to what extent are our politics populated with opportunists who now hide and say they're leaders?
Before we continue with this discussion, I would like to preface it with a quote. Milton Friedman, which is one of the father of modern economics, said, and I quote, "One man's opportunism is another man's statesmanship." So are they really different things, or is it two sides of the same coin?
Chris M?
I'll not take that one.
Come on, that was a fun one.
I'm choosing to run away from it. I'll say, to what extent are our leaders opportunistic?
Or what extent are opportunists taking over the leadership?
I don't say 100%. So let me say a very high 70%.
99.99999%.
Very high 70 to 80, right? Because in this country, and this is what shocked me, people are leaving their cushy private sector jobs to go into politics. Not because they have visions, not because they have...
There's opportunity.
They see opportunity
is what you
themselves.
can get. Because let me ask you this. Right now in Nairobi, we've seen NMS cleaning up the city, changing up a lot of things.
Yeah.
You walk around and you see the sidewalks.
Showing leadership,
There's real change. But the NMS is more or less the national government doing something, right? So the presidency, people can see the presidency is working. But how many of us in our wards have proper street lighting, garbage collection within our wards? How much work is being done within our wards?
By the counties.
By the county government, right? Our ward rep, our member of parliament, our senators, our women rep. How much work can you sit down and say, by the way, other than this border shed, my MCA has done such and such.
Border shed has their name,
they launch it. It's a whole thing. They're coming to launch a border. There's a time in this country, there's a certain leader who was launching a cattle dip. Another one launched a wooden bridge. Another one launched a transformer. It's that we are so devoid of, I don't know. You do the tiniest thing and you want to go and launch it, so that at least, because you're not shown out there so much. So if you go and shake the hand of an old lady, you're like, hey, did you see I shook this hand or helped her across the road? Yeah. It's more very opportunistic, and we are out of ideas, and we just want to go there and see how much you can get and how much you can amass. And I think the issue of these people getting, those positions being pensionable is also a problem. Because people just want to go there and get pension.
An interesting point to what you said earlier about people leaving their jobs to come to the sector of public. One interesting thing that you see, a trend that has been noticed by a lot of people, is in the elections for the parliament. In elections in 2017, one musician ran for parliament and got the seat.
One musician that we know.
One musician that we know in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Now, come this election, we have what, four musicians, four entertainers. Let's not call them musicians. And some of them actually may have a stand. Some of them may actually have a vision. We're not judging you for that. But 4 entertainers who are coming, and you must ask the question: what's the purpose of their venturing into the politics? Is it for changing the industries in which they live, or is it and gain a living for, or is it for their own personal gain? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. You, Chrisem, and me in part as well, have gone through Kenyan universities.
Yes.
And one of the things that frustrated me the most in Kenyan universities is the voting process for the university leaders. Some people loved it. I disliked it a lot because
what was the voting process? Because
they come to your classes, they hold barazas, they distribute money to try and get you to vote for them in a certain way. So sort of just like our national politics. Yes, they can bribe you, by the way. It's not very difficult.
But that goes against the rules.
Welcome to Kenya.
Well, no? Sometimes the rules don't matter. But anyways.
What?
So I used to get very frustrated by the leaders who would be elected, because to me, all I saw was people looking to get themselves an opportunity, not willing to get us as the university a chance to move forward in a certain way or in a certain manner. So that's the question I have. I see some of the leaders in our politics, and I'm very proud of the work they have done. But you look at so many others entering into the game, preaching populism, preaching quick fixes, and not actually giving us substantial change. We don't have the people like Mishuki, the people like Boya, those politicians of the 1960s who really were leaders.
Who are radical.
They were radical. No, they were
Mishuki
radical.
Came and said, no seatbelt, nothing. Yeah.
You have to accept it. They were radical.
You can bell and whistles.
Thank you. Like one man's radicalism is another man's moderation. They were radicals.
Just hold on to your point, Chiki. Yeah? And this is where I'm saying some leaders are very opportunistic. Right now, as a young guy, I would want to go into government to try and tackle issues that affect the young people, right? And for entertainers in this country, they've been complaining for a very long time that the government is not doing enough to accommodate them and to grow that industry. Now, this entertainer that you were talking about, he was part of the people complaining before he went into government. And then he went into government. And then not too long ago, the entertainers in Kenya called him out and they were like, hey, things are not going right. What are you doing over there? What he told them was, and maybe this is profound, maybe it's not, he told them, I wasn't elected by you guys. I was elected by a certain constituency which I represent, which is true. But when you go there, can't you represent more than one issue?
Yes.
You have 5 years, and you're telling me in these 5 years, you can't take time off to highlight issues affecting the creative industry
and
in this
creative
country.
industry people in your constituency.
In your constituency. Oh, that constituency is big. That's why I won't go into it. But there's an opportunity there, and what has he done to the people of that constituency? Because for a short period in time, I used to reside in that constituency, and I mean, if you know better, do better. That's all I'm saying.
So we're going to pause it right there. We'll be back after the break, where we'll conclude with an interesting game brought to us by Anna, the producer. Welcome back to Work in Progress. And now to conclude the show, we have had 2 quite serious discussions. So we're going to switch gears. Anna, the producer, our political scientist, by the way, said that we're going to do this. We're going to now look at certain pictures, get into the age of social media, so you get your social media brains on, and we're going to caption each of the pictures we have with like a 3-word or a 4-word, something funny, okay? So we're going to go through them, and then if we do not get them right, we urge people on YouTube, on Fifth Estate Plus, on Fifth Estate TV, to give us better, and Instagram, to give us better captions. Give us better captions. Okay? So the first one, I see a rhino over some beams.
Nothing is coming to mind.
I'm wondering, like, are you sure this will hold up? That's the question I'm having. What do you think, Chriselle?
A rhino.
Oh, I have one. Think thin thoughts, think thin thoughts, think thin thoughts.
Wow.
Because he has to. Like, that beam is very.
It's that beam is not holding it up. That rhino is falling. For
It's
sure.
going to
You
fall.
can see this beam is even. It's two beams on each other. This one is done. Anyways,
I'll go with the X's.
X's.
You win.
So now we see a cat and a volcano erupting behind it. So I think I have this one. I have one. I thought it was silent.
You and I are on the same wavelength, yeah? Because what I was going with is the cat looking at the owner, like, I told you not to give me milk.
Okay, I have nothing. And I'm the cat owner and I have
But
nothing.
you have to vote between mine and Chris M's.
The silent one. I like the silent one.
I do like the
Thank
silent
you,
ones,
I
but I'm
see.
most partial because I'm most partial to the milk one because that's actually happened to me before. So gross.
With your cat?
Yes, I
Next
found out the hard way.
Next picture is Donald Trump crying, holding two babies.
No, Donald Trump screaming.
Oh, Donald Trump screaming with 3 babies.
The guy with the thumbs up.
And the guy with the thumbs up. I didn't notice that. So the first caption that came into my head is, which one is the bigger baby? But this little girl over here is talking some things like, Mom, I thought you said he was an adult. No, this is getting too rough.
Okay.
Just the first one.
So
the 3 babies thing.
The 3 babies.
So the one I'm thinking of 2. Number 1 is #FirstTimeDad.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2 is all of them screaming, "Where's Mom?"
I'll vote for #FirstTimeDad.
Chris,
No.
nothing.
So now these people are eating some kind of fish. I hope, it's some sort of fish.
Eating in the African way.
In the that's not even the African way. As we are much more aggressive with it. Anyways,
Hands on.
So I don't know how to caption this. The only thing I'm thinking of is one napkin enough? That's all I'm thinking in my head.
I know how to caption it, but it's not PG-13.
Yeah, just go.
Just move. Okay. Let's go to this one first before we go to the other one. So you have our former governor, now a member of, I think he's gone to Wiper or something, Mr. Sonko, with an umbrella on his head. What do we do with this one? I'm like, this umbrella didn't stop the rain.
Ati, you said it was a dress-up party.
Oh.
Like the Halloween thing.
Yeah.
My shades didn't give enough shade.
No.
No, okay.
No.
I lost my seat. Wait. I want to play on words, yeah? When the rain started beating us or something like that. Let's move.
You figure it out.
Okay, so we'll go to this one. We'll do 2 more.
Oh, I know this one.
Okay.
When Mom says we're having githeri for dinner. Personal bias, I do not like githeri. Feel free to like it on my behalf,
You know
please.
what? Out of all the African dishes that exist in this world, githeri is at the bottom for me as well.
Please
What
don't
do you
come
think,
for
Chris?
us.
You truly are a Kenyan. Aluo.
Aluo.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you get it, you get it. If you don't, we move.
Last one. Okay, so
when they take using your head too literally.
Damn, you win.
Because
I was gonna say something about an ostrich. This looks like an ostrich pose. I was
like they're burying their head in the sand.
Yeah,
CBC, go and tell us what ostriches do.
New CBC assignment.
New CBC assignment, something like that.
You guys win.
Okay, I think
AX you won.
AX won that one. So
yes.
I think for a fact, the people in KOT and the people all over can probably get us a few better captions for the ones that we failed in. So kindly share with us your captions, and we'll actually, if we can get the opportunity, we'll even share them here.
We'll review them next week.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching Work in Progress, and we'll be here with you next time.
Bye.